Hey, welcome back to Zombie Tactics, and today, my guide to voting, I'm going to tell you how to vote in the presidential election. Actually, I'm not going to tell you how to vote in the presidential election. I'm going to say a little bit about how I think you ought to think about it, though, because I think that some people think about these things the wrong way, and they get polarized along certain lines, and it doesn't do any good for all of us, for any of us. Now, I don't think that it's any big surprise that I lean somewhat libertarian, strongly libertarian in my views. I am, however, a registered Republican, and I'm going to resolve that seeming dilemma for you here in a little bit. But I'll say this. If you're the kind of person who is inclined in this upcoming presidential election that will be like within a day or two of this posting, and you're going to vote for Barack Obama, I really don't know what to say to you. I wish you wouldn't, and I don't think that anything that I can say in this video will convince you otherwise. You've heard it all, you've seen it all. If the way you're filtering all the information that's coming to you makes you think that that's the better choice, I don't think I'm going to change your mind in the next 5-10 minutes, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I do want to talk to people in this video, though, who are in that kind of dilemma between whether I'm going to vote for a chosen candidate and some third-party candidate, and talk about the whole issue of the wasted vote and whether you're a coward if you vote some way or you're giving the vote to the other side if you vote the other way. And I'll tell you exactly how this works for me. I voted for Ron Paul in the presidential primary in California, and I did so because at that point in the process, that is where my vote for Ron Paul could have made a difference. And it makes a difference in two ways. Even though I didn't think in the presidential primary election a vote for Ron Paul was going to get any delegates for Ron Paul in the Republican convention, because he just wasn't going to get enough votes, it serves notice to the Republican Party that these are my values, these are the things that I'm worried about. Even if I don't agree with Dr. Paul on everything, it says to the Republican Party, you better not leave us out. And the more people who voted for Ron Paul in the primary, the better, even though Ron Paul was not ultimately the Republican nominee. Now, in the upcoming election in California, and your elections around the country, you have to kind of take a look at things a little differently. And here's how I think you ought to take a look at them. If you're in a state like California, which you absolutely know, there is no way in hell that California is going to go for Mitt Romney, for instance. Your vote for any third-party candidate is exactly that same kind of thing that I talked about that it would be in the primary election. It is a vote that says, all right, win or lose in the national election, I'm putting my vote in a column that says, I want to identify to you, whoever you are that wins this election, what my values are, and that there are people out here who believe in libertarian values, and that's what we stand for. Now that, to me, I think is a responsible vote for a couple reasons. One, there's no way in hell that my vote in California is going to make one bit of difference one way or the other, whether Barack Obama or Mitt Romney wins the election for president. And the vote actually then does something. As a protest vote, it works. It's something that when the analysis of the election comes about, they're going to say, well, you know what's interesting? This number of people put in a vote for Gary Johnson. And that just shows you how the Libertarian Party is growing in force, and that's something that the Republicans are going to have to think about. And if the Democrats want to get their vote, they're going to have to alter their policies and their party planks accordingly. Now that's in any state that you're in where you absolutely believe that it's not even close, it's going to go for one guy or the other. If you're absolutely sure it's going to go for Barack Obama in that state, it's totally a blue state, boom. You go ahead, and if you don't like Barack Obama, but you're kind of liberal, vote for the Green Party candidate or whoever, because you know what, it isn't going to make a difference. And it lets your side of the world know, hey, I'm really worried about these green issues. If you're someplace where it's decidedly a red state, and you know for a fact it's going to go for Romney in that state, and it's not a state where it's a winners take all state, meaning he gets all the delegates if he gets the whole state election. You go ahead and you vote for whoever you want to. Gary Johnson, the American Constitutional Party, whoever you want, because believe it or not, the people that analyze this stuff, all the guys that are the campaign experts who get beside the scenes and they add up the numbers, they will say in the next election, you know what? This is the way the demographic worked on this during this election, and there are more of these kinds of people and more of that kind of people. So in those states, that's what you do. But I'll tell you what, if you are a person who believes like I do in libertarian values, and you are in a state where your vote could possibly make a difference one way or the other, whether or not it's Barack Obama or Mitt Romney, I think you're doing a disservice to your values by not voting for Mitt Romney. And the reason why is, yes, we know Romney's not a libertarian. Yes, we know there's all kinds of things where there's no difference between Romney and Obama. The difference is, first of all, that Romney is still beholden to his Republican base, which, regardless of what you believe about the power structure at the top of the party and this, that, and the other thing, the base of the Republican Party is much closer to libertarian ideals than it is to Democrat ideals or any of their third parties. So your vote is an effective vote, and it's a vote for the values that you believe in if you live in one of these states where your vote could make a difference as to whether or not it's Barack Obama or Mitt Romney for president. Now, some people will say, well, I'm going to vote my conscience no matter what. Well, that's fine, and I get that, and I've already told you how if you live in a state where it's not going to make a difference, that protest vote, that voting your conscience, it's an effective vote and it makes a difference. However, if you're in a state where it could go one way or the other, a vote for Gary Johnson, a vote for a third-party candidate of any kind, is actually taking a vote away from someone who is more aligned with your values than the other guy who could conceivably get in office. And make no mistake, if you think that there's some way there's going to be a write-in campaign at the last second and somebody other than Barack Obama or Mitt Romney is going to be president, I don't know what to say to you either. I don't really think you're thinking these things through. But this is kind of the way I think of the thing. Sure, there's a place to vote your conscience where voting your conscience makes a difference and sends the right message to the right people. But you have to sit back sometimes and say, sometimes I need to make a pragmatic choice about the effect that my vote is going to have. And in those cases where it's that one or the other and nobody knows for sure and it's close, I implore every single one of you who, like me, are libertarians to vote for your ideals, to vote for the candidate who most closely is aligned with your ideals, even if it's by small percentage points, even if you don't think that in their heart of hearts they really believe in the same thing that you believe in. We know that Republicans are generally, at least a part of their party platform, and the base of the party is for smaller government, less intrusion through regulation in our lives, this, that, and the other thing. Fine, that's a libertarian position. There are all kinds of things Romney is way wrong on and things that he's been way wrong on in the past. But on those issues alone, vote to make your values have a better chance of holding sway in the government. The political appointments that are going to be made by Mitt Romney are going to be holding to values that are much closer to libertarian ideals than they are to Democrat ideals. And for that reason, if you're in a state where it could make a difference, my suggestion to you very, very strongly is that the only prudent choice, the one that isn't kind of just taking, I'm going to take my bat and ball and go home because there's no perfect candidate kind of thing, is a vote for Mitt Romney. And if you kind of got to hold your nose while you do that, I understand. I'm going to be doing a little bit of that in the polling place myself. At least I would be if I was voting for Romney. I'm going to vote for Gary Johnson because I'm in a state where it doesn't make a difference. And the only difference I can make is to make my vote counted as look at where the electorate is going, and people are going to have to think about this in future elections. So that's not what you've gotten from other people in terms of advice. I'm trying to give you advice I think that makes a difference. I'm no expert. You do with it whatever you want to. That's Zombie Tactics for today, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.